Wow, it's been an incredibly busy 10 months in the world of e-mountain bikes, no more so than in the last 6 months.
Yeah, so in this video, we're going to talk you through the biggest tech stories of 2025 so far.
Should we kick off with bikes, Don?
Well, so I went to Sea Otter, when was that, a month ago, and you've been to Riva del Garda, so two of the biggest bike shows so far this year. Obviously we've got Eurobike coming, and there's been lots of launches. I think we've got to start, or I've got to start with the DJI-powered Avanox bikes. The Uno Myth and the Forbidden Druids made a big, waves, should I say, at Sea Otter. Lots of interest there, really cool to see. And it's the first bikes with that motor, aside from the Amflow, and really cool, boutique, interesting bikes as well.
Yeah, I mean, Cesar Rojo at Uno Bikes is a really interesting character. Runs Cero Design, which was the design agent for KTM. Cesar was a World Cup downhill racer, really fast World Cup downhill racer, fantastic technical knowledge. I think the great thing about Cesar, how he analyses things. So what he's created here is a 160, 170 mil enduro bike, which is the first enduro bike with DJI Avanox system.
Yeah, which is what everyone's asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. The geometry is good in it by all accounts. I've got a friend who's been out there with him last week, has ridden the bikes. But what I love about Cesar is the fact that his analytical skills, he gives you some details. Like we were talking about efficiency on the channel on the show last week. 2,000 meters vertical. In high power mode on that bike, that's a huge range.
It's right forefront on the website as well, isn't it? Showing what you can do on that bike. But don't forget the Forbiddens. You've got two Druids. I think they're great looking bikes, high pivots, and rightfully had a lot of interest at Sea Otter as well. And one of my friends has just literally ordered one of those, so it's going to be a popular bike as well.
So we're talking biggest innovations. If you have got the money, right, are you going to go Forbidden or are you going to go Uno?
I would actually go Forbidden, I think.
Interesting. So I'd go Uno every day of the week.
I'd
go Uno.
I mean, I would do Uno. It looks like a great bike as well. However, I kind of fancy the Forbidden, I've got to say.
They're probably both great bikes.
I'm sure they are. I'd like to ride one.
We're both talking about bikes which we've not actually ridden.
No, that's I've looked at.
But what we do know is that the e-mountain bike system within that bike is great. We're going to talk about other e-mountain bike systems on the market in a minute. I think we need to talk about the Specialized Levo. First e-mountain bike with SWAT storage on there.
Yeah, I thought, later in the script I've actually said about any more mountain bike tech coming over. And there was one thing, it's sort of a small point really, but I do like having storage inside an enduro bike that I'm going to ride all day long. So it's quite nice to have. It's not the biggest news from the Specialized Levo launched. I think
the biggest story for Levo for me was the fact that it's configurable, because we talk about power, but lots of people that, like I said, they want to use bikes for sessioning downhill runs. So you can actually have a Levo which is designed to use a 180 mil fork. So you've got you've got a 150, 180 mil bike. You can put you got heavy duty tires on it, heavy duty brakes. Might be a Fox 38 180 mil travel. That'll weigh in about 23 kilos. At the same time, you can flip out the fork if you've got the money, that is. I mean, it's a lot of expense, but you can actually have a bike which is 19 kilos with thinner casing tires on it. And I think you could then have, you could make the bike with an 800 watt hour battery or a 600 watt hour battery. I think it's the fact that the modularity of that bike is really an interesting feature, I think.
Obviously, the launch video you did has got really good views. The Specialized Levo still commands a lot of interest. It has been the benchmark bike forever. Is it still there with these new contenders?
That's an interesting question.
To be debated.
One more thing on bikes before we move on to some products is, we talk about power. And, I've been in the doggos talking about that it's not just about power. There was a bike at Riva del Garda, which was a race-winning bike from an Italian racer.
Oh, that was cool.
It was Ascol. It was 110 newton meters, 1200 watts peak power, weighed in 20 kilos, but that wasn't really, a bike which you'd want to session downhills on. So
it is short travel.
Yeah, it is important. I think the bikes we've mentioned here, Levo, Forbidden, and Uno, they are the kind of bikes which you can ride seriously difficult downhill terrain on. So I think they are definitely the standout bikes for us so far in 2025.
Any we've missed, jump in the comments down below. I'd like to see your opinions on that for sure.
Oh, 100%.
I'm sure we've missed some. I think this is maybe a bit of a trend. Big brakes. So SRAM launched their Maven maybe last year, was it? But they've updated the Maven line, so there's now the base versions as well, and they've updated their DB8s. So it's now got a really comprehensive line of very powerful brakes, which I think is a good thing for us. Bikers.
But I think we need to put it in context. I remember going to a Trek press camp back in 2016 and riding some insanely long downhill tracks in the Alps on some of the first e-mountain bikes. Brakes overheating, brakes not working. I think we've got to a better place with brakes. The Mavens are great. I would argue that for a lot of the riding I do, I don't actually need a Maven. Super powerful brake. I think definitely heavier riders need more powerful brakes. I think if you're riding long descents, you need heavier brakes. But I've got the very basic Shimano M4100s on my Kado, and they work a treat.
Yep.
They work an absolute treat. There's not even a brand name to them, the M4100s. But entry-level brakes.
Great, yeah, I know them.
So I just want to put it out there that it doesn't all have to be high-cost, high-end stuff.
Gearboxes. Have we talked enough about gearboxes?
Haven't been talking about it for 20 years.
Pinion MGUs, though, specifically motor gearbox units. We've got Nikolai, High Bike now, Simplon. It's coming.
Rottwild. I think the Rottwild is the only one with a chain drive.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's.
Can you run the Nikolai with a chain as well? I'm not sure. I should
I think you can, yeah.
So is this a wave that is going to overtake us, and in 3 years' time we'll all be riding gearbox bikes, or is it just another distraction?
I think what we're waiting for at this moment in time is to see how the reliability pans out on the Pinion drive unit. You know, we're still looking at the reliability of DJI bikes. So I think that for the viewers, I think that is the number one consideration. Certainly I've seen many happy people on the Pinion bike. I personally have had a great time. I think for me, it's actually not, funnily enough, it's not just about the gearbox part of it. It's about the silence that a bike like that allows and gives you. You can hear.
Not necessarily going up though, because they're not that silent. The motor unit,
depending on the gear, going descend. So I'm on about descending. This the descending quality you get. I mean, it's quite interesting that Hattie Harnden won the the Enduro World Cup in finale recently on a Pinion belt drive bike. I think that's very much a moment in time.
I'm starting to see him. I did meet someone out on the trail, a very happy customer on a Nikolai bike with MGU on it, Pinion MGU. So yeah. So
let's talk continuing the shifting thing. What about mechanical shifting?
So I think this is going to be, I mean, it already is out, but I think the SRAM Eagle 90 and 70, I would imagine we'll see more product managers speccing this on bikes, because I think it really makes sense for a lot of e-bikes. For some reason, we see a lot of SRAM Axis wireless bikes at the high end. They seem to, these brands are just full of them.
Well, you know why, don't you? Because the product managers feel compelled, they feel they have to put expensive group sets. And they feel if they don't do it, then they're falling behind the competitors. Right, but I believe, especially on e-mountain bikes, you should be looking at, because it's a high turnover part, you should be looking at being able to replace things at not too much of a cost, right?
Yeah, and I think this was a nice step in the right direction. See the Eagle 9070, 12 speed, 1052, that full mount interface, so it goes on the drop out, basically a super strong rear mech that is rebuildable as well, and compatible with the other T-type stuff, so you can mix and match between it. And the Eagle 90 eMTB group set starts at, it comes in at $590 US or £575. Which is pretty reasonable, but there are other options. Shimano.
Well, I come back to the fact that on my white Kado is the S model. It's got a Shimano QS 11-speed cassette and derailleur on the bike. Works a treat.
I've not ridden it. Yeah.
It's got cable operated. It's relatively inexpensive to replace.
I think we'll see more of this.
Yeah.
I hope to see more of this.
I hope so, because it's a high turnover part on an e-mountain bike, and people can't go affording £700 a hit on cassettes and derailleurs. Radial tyres. Radial tyres is on the Don's list.
So
rightly so.
Schwalbe at the moment are the only brand doing it. There's rumours of others coming, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically, do you know what radial means? It's the layup of the threads. It's not the threads per inch, that stays the same. It's the way they're laid up and cross.
Yeah.
Means you get more rubber on the ground and it will deform with less force, meaning that if there's a root there and you ride into it, you'll just get more of the rubber touching it.
And that's what e-bikes are all about, getting traction down.
And you can feel it. It's impressive. And it also means that you get the compliance. It's the same grip, so you can even run harder pressures and still get that same deformity. So you can have a really sort of puncture-resistant tyre with slightly higher pressures if you want.
What I like about Schwalbe is the fact that they've got the shredder, and I love riding in mud. And the shredder is the tyre that allows you to get traction on your e-mountain bike.
You're having a bad time. We've had the driest spring in about 20 years, Steve.
Okay, which comes on to that fact. I think we need to be looking at tyres on a location-based basis because, you know, you and me have both ridden in trail centres such as Coed Brennan, hard-packed, fast-rolling terrain. And I think if you're on bikes such as the Canyon, you know, Neuron Fly, you know, it's got the SX motor on there, the low profile, hard compound tyres, which enables you to keep your momentum above 25 kph.
Yeah. I mean, we've not done any tests on the efficiency of these tyres, but it'd be really interesting to see the difference between like a downhill tyre and a low profile.
You speak for yourself, Don. Speak for yourself.
Been there, done that.
There's definitely 10 to 20% difference in the battery range on hard compound, low profile versus something like a shredder. The shredder is made for traction. And it does come at a price, but for those conditions. But yeah, like you said, it's been amazing rather recently, isn't it?
Steve, talk to me about Bosch ABS Pro. So
I can't.
Anti-lock brake system.
I can't. What I can tell you is that previously when I rode ABS, it was good. From the feedback I've been getting from the likes of like Natalie Schneider and people now, that it is excellent. Because previously, I can give you an example, is the great thing about ABS is if you're riding terrain which you do not know, batteries all over the floor, sometimes when your tyre, if you're braking on a descent and your tyre grabs a rock, it'll go with the rock and you can actually fall off road. The great thing about ABS is when your tyre comes into contact with that rock and you're braking, it rolls through. So if you've got like a rocky kind of gully which is full of loose rocks and stuff like that, you can actually brake in it a lot more comfortable with ABS. ABS Pro actually goes one step further, and I think it addresses the whole business of riding ABS in wetter conditions.
So ABS has been around for a little while now, but this ABS Pro it seems like that original one came and went, and it wasn't really spec'd on many bikes other than city bikes. This ABS Pro I've seen on proper full suspension e-mountain bikes, so it's...
Yeah, I've saw it on Scott, on quite a few e-mountain bikes now. Scott, Mondrake are all speccing it on their bikes. I think we're going to see more and more of it. I, for one, am desperate to get my hands on a Bosch ABS Pro system.
I'd like to try it. This fits into that thing of, I don't think I want it, but maybe I want to try it.
Exactly.
And we'll see.
Can we actually continue on the Bosch theme in terms of innovations of 2025? Because obviously they recently did the update to 100 Newton meters and 750 watts peak power. They also came out with the CXR motor, which has actually got a race mode on it. Race mode is actually ludicrous.
Can you tone down your other modes to fit with the regular CX motor as well?
You can. But one feature I'd like to talk about on which I think is a huge innovation, and that is they've now got an eMTB Plus mode. So previously they had an eMTB,
which is I've liked using eMTB.
Yeah, eMTB Plus goes one step further, and what it allows, it's a kind of traction control. I think they call it dynamic assist, but. Do you know, like on a motorcycle, sometimes the power comes in too quickly, and what eMTB Plus mode does now is it feeds the power in a smoother curve, so it's not so aggressive. And I think when you've got looser ground, do you know when you ride on an e-mountain bike and you maybe get a root or a rock, and the bike will go and it'll spin out.
Deja vu. Yeah.
So the thing with the new eMTB Plus, so basically the traction control is also in the turbo mode as well. On the CX, which is great news for everybody, is that it's a bit softer, so it is less likely to do that if you spin out. So I think as an innovation, it's a really cool thing for e-mountain bikers.
I guess we're expecting to see the CXR motor on some high-end jazzy enduro bikes.
Yeah, but do you know what? I've been speaking to quite a few people about this. I think it's like, I'm 97 kilos. If I go on a really steep trail, rocky technical trail, it's even a little bit lively for me. Right. So I think it comes back to the fact that on your Flow app, you can actually tune the power down to the dynamic assist can be less if there's less overrun. So it's about like fine tuning it. But I think the eMTB Plus is definitely a great innovation.
Finishing up with, it's a bit of a trend I'm foreseeing coming is shorter cranks. So we've got aftermarket brands like Hope Technology and 5Dev offering cranks for various e-bikes down to 155 millimeters, which is, what is only 5 years ago, 175 was sort of a standard for a mountain bike probably, but SRAM Eagle 90 has 150mm for eMTB, and I've just swapped actually on my bike from 165 down to 155, and it's not a lot obviously, but it does feel a bit different if I'm trying to pedal across rocky terrain, just being set up. Obviously, that your suspension sag, there's lots of things that can affect this, but just saving 10mm there I feel like is quite a nice thing. I don't feel like I lose out anywhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I rode a series of cranks out in Portugal a few years ago, and for me it's just the fact that, and this is all linked into the overrun of your e-mountain bike system. So I think crank length and power is interrelated, but what I found is that actually the shorter crank, it gave me a little, if you've got like a trail that goes from here to there and you've got to react to it, I think the shorter crank gives you a little bit more time on the crank to react, because you haven't got the leverage to deal with. And I know it's only 10mm, but I think I agree with you, it definitely makes a difference. And it gives you a bit more time when you're tackling technical climbs, it gives you a bit more time to react on the pedal, if that makes sense.
Is 150mm the limit? Is this just going to be aftermarket, or do you think people might be speccing these cranks as standard on regular e-bikes? Who knows?
Yeah.
Find out.
And one final thing actually, Don, is I didn't realise this, that is a DJI, the folks at DJI are continually updating their software on a weekly basis. I didn't know there was automatic shifting on DJI.
I've not tried it.
Yeah,
that's you hear this about Teslas and that, where you can get an upgrade wirelessly, and we're starting to feel like that's coming to e-bikes fairly regularly now. So that's our list of things which have drawn our attention for 2025, folks. Let us know which products have come on the market which have caught your eye. Let us know in the comments.